Trump at a rally, a young Trump in a hard hat, the "you're fired" finger point, Trump Tower, Air Force One, shaking hands with world leaders, clips from news coverage spanning decades, the escalator ride, the White House. Music is dramatic and builds. He is a figure of immense wealth and unparalleled celebrity. A name that became a brand that became a movement, and a movement that captured the most powerful office in the world. For over half a century, he has dominated headlines, skylines, and television screens. But who is Donald John Trump? Is he the master dealmaker from his own best-selling book? The reality TV star who captivated a nation? The political disruptor who shattered every norm? Or the populist hero to millions of Americans who felt forgotten? His story is not just the biography of a man, it is a reflection of America's own ambitions, divisions, and transformations. To understand the present, we must go back to the beginning. Back to a borough of New York City, and the patriarch who cast a long shadow. Donald Trump's story begins not in the glittering towers of Manhattan, but in the brick and concrete neighborhoods of Queens. He was born on June 14, 1946, the fourth of 5 children to Fred and Mary Ann Trump. His father, Fred Trump, was a formidable figure. A disciplined, relentless real estate developer, the son of German immigrants, who built a fortune constructing solid, middle-class housing in Queens and Brooklyn. Fred was a tough, demanding father. He preached a simple gospel: win. In the world of Fred Trump, there were 2 kinds of people, killers and losers. He expected his sons to be killers. Young Donald was energetic, assertive, and rebellious. After some trouble in school, at the age of 13, he was sent to the New York Military Academy. It was here that his energy was channeled. The academy's rigid structure instilled a discipline that would serve him later in life. He excelled, rising to the rank of captain. It was an environment that rewarded confidence and a commanding presence. After the academy, he briefly attended Fordham University before transferring to the prestigious Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania, graduating in 1968. He was now armed with a top-tier education, ready to join the family business, Elizabeth Trump and Son. While his father's empire was in the outer boroughs, Donald's ambitions lay across the river, in the big leagues, Manhattan. He saw a city on the brink of bankruptcy in the 1970s as an opportunity. Armed with his father's connections and a now famous loan he would later describe as small, he set out to make his own name. His first major project was a masterclass in negotiation and leveraging political connections. He took the bankrupt Commodore Hotel, a faded relic next to Grand Central Station, and, with a massive tax abatement from the city, transformed it into the gleaming Grand Hyatt Hotel. It was a huge success and announced his arrival. But it was his next project that would literally cement his name into the sky. He acquired the prime location on 5th Avenue and 56th Street to build his monument. Trump Tower. Opened in 1983, it was more than a building. It was a statement. A 58-story palace of polished brass, pink marble, and cascading water. It was the physical embodiment of the 1980s ethos of opulence and success. It became his home, his office, and the headquarters of the growing Trump Organization. The 1980s were Trump's decade. He was a fixture in the New York tabloids, his life a public spectacle. His marriage to Ivana Trump, a glamorous Czech model, produced 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. Together, they were New York's power couple. He bought an airline, the Trump Shuttle. He bought a megayacht. He moved into the casino business in Atlantic City with the Trump Plaza, Trump's Castle, and the opulent, billion-dollar Trump Taj Mahal. He was the king of conspicuous consumption. In 1987, he co-authored The Art of the Deal. The book was a sensation, spending nearly a year on the bestseller list. It wasn't just a business book, it was a manual for his brand. It portrayed him as a brilliant, instinctive negotiator who always came out on top. But the high-flying 80s gave way to a turbulent 90s. A recession hit the real estate market hard. His Atlantic City casinos were drowning in debt. The Trump empire, built on leverage, was on the verge of collapse. His companies filed for multiple corporate bankruptcies. His very public and messy divorce from Ivana, fueled by his affair with actress Marla Maples, was tabloid fodder for months. For the first time, the man synonymous with winning looked like he might lose it all. Many counted him out. But Donald Trump proved to be resilient. He clawed his way back, restructuring billions in debt, sacrificing his airline and yacht, but managing to hold on to the core of his brand, Trump Tower, and his name. The 1990s were a period of rebuilding, but his next reinvention wouldn't come from real estate. It would come from television. In 2004, Trump premiered as the host of a new reality TV show, The Apprentice. The premise was simple: contestants vied for a job within the Trump Organization. The show was an immediate, runaway hit. It reintroduced Donald Trump not as a debt-ridden developer from the 90s, but as the ultimate billionaire boss, dispensing wisdom from a lavish boardroom. Every week, millions of Americans invited him into their living rooms. They saw a decisive, no-nonsense leader who demanded excellence and wasn't afraid to make tough decisions. The show's catchphrase, "You're fired," became a national phenomenon. For a new generation who didn't remember his 80s fame or 90s troubles, this was Donald Trump. The show didn't just revive his career, it fundamentally reshaped his public image, branding him as the personification of success. It was during this time that his political flirtations became more serious. He had toyed with a presidential run in 2000. But in the 2010s, he became a prominent voice in the birther movement, publicly questioning whether President Barack Obama was born in the United States. It was a controversial stance that endeared him to a segment of the electorate deeply skeptical of the establishment. He was laying the groundwork, testing the waters for what was to come. On a summer day in 2015, Donald Trump rode an escalator into the lobby of the building that made him famous and announced the unbelievable: he was running for President of the United States. Many dismissed it as another publicity stunt. The speech was rambling, controversial, and immediately set the tone for his campaign. His platform was simple and powerful. His slogan, "Make America Great Again," resonated with millions. He promised to build a wall on the southern border and make Mexico pay for it. He railed against what he called disastrous trade deals that sent American jobs overseas. He positioned himself as the ultimate outsider, beholden to no one, ready to take on a corrupt political establishment. His campaign defied every rule of modern politics. He eschewed pollsters and big-dollar donors in favor of massive, freewheeling rallies and a direct line to the public through a new medium, Twitter. He gave his opponents derisive nicknames: Low-Energy Jeb, Lion, Ted, Crooked Hillary. The media gave him endless coverage, mesmerized by the spectacle. He bulldozed his way through a crowded field of 16 Republican rivals, many of them seasoned governors and senators. The Republican establishment was aghast, but their voters were thrilled. He had tapped into a deep vein of populist anger and nationalist sentiment that others had missed. The general election against the Democratic nominee, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, was one of the most bitter and divisive in American history. It was rocked by scandals on both sides, from the release of the Access Hollywood tape where Trump made lewd comments, to the ongoing controversy over Clinton's use of a private email server. On election night, November 8, 2016, the world watched in stunned disbelief. State after state, projected to go to Clinton, began to fall into Trump's column. The blue wall of the industrial Midwest, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, crumbled. Donald J. Trump, the real estate mogul and reality TV star, had been elected the 45th President of the United States. It was the biggest political upset in modern history. President Trump's 4 years in the White House were as tumultuous and norm-shattering as his campaign. He governed as he had campaigned. With a flurry of executive orders, a constant stream of tweets, and a combative relationship with the press, whom he labeled the enemy of the people. His administration's signature legislative achievement was a massive tax cut. He aggressively rolled back environmental and business regulations. A central promise kept to his base was the reshaping of the federal judiciary. He successfully appointed 3 conservative justices to the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett, cementing a conservative majority for a generation. On the world stage, he pursued an America First foreign policy. He withdrew the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal, the Paris Climate Accord, and the Iran nuclear deal. He launched a trade war with China and renegotiated the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA. He moved the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem and fostered historic peace agreements between Israel and several Arab nations known as the Abraham Accords. His diplomacy was personal and unpredictable, highlighted by unprecedented, face-to-face meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. But his presidency was dogged by controversy. The special counsel investigation led by Robert Mueller into Russian interference in the 2016 election shadowed his first 2 years. He became the 3rd president in U.S. history to be impeached by the House of Representatives, first in 2019 for his dealings with Ukraine, and then a second time after he left office for his role in the events of January 6. He was acquitted by the Senate both times. His final year in office was defined by the COVID-19 pandemic, which crippled the global economy and led to hundreds of thousands of American deaths. His handling of the crisis was heavily criticized. The 2020 election campaign against Democrat Joe Biden was fought against this backdrop of plague and protest. He lost the election, but refused to concede, launching a barrage of legal challenges and claiming widespread voter fraud. This culminated on January 6, 2021, when a rally of his supporters in Washington, D.C. turned into an attack on the U.S. Capitol, a shocking and violent attempt to stop the certification of the election. Most former presidents fade gracefully from the political arena. Donald Trump did not. From his new base at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, he remained the most dominant and powerful force in the Republican Party. He held rallies, endorsed candidates, and continued to insist the 2020 election was stolen from him. His post-presidency was also marked by unprecedented legal peril. He faced multiple state and federal investigations and indictments, related to his business practices in New York, his handling of classified documents after leaving the White House, and his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. No former American president had ever faced such a mountain of legal challenges. To anyone else, it might have been the end. But for Donald Trump, it became a rallying cry. He framed the indictments as a political witch hunt, orchestrated by his enemies to stop him from running again. His supporters agreed, and his poll numbers within the Republican Party only grew stronger. In November 2022, he announced his 3rd campaign for the presidency. Once again, he dominated the Republican primaries. He ran a historically unique campaign, balancing rallies and policy speeches with courtroom appearances. The 2024 election presented a stark choice for America. Trump promised a return to his America First agenda, a crackdown on immigration, and retribution against what he called the deep state. In a political comeback unprecedented in modern American history, Donald Trump once again secured the presidency, defying the odds, the predictions, and the weight of his own legal battles. And so, the story continues. Donald J. Trump returned to the White House, not as an outsider, but as an incumbent once removed, inheriting a nation even more polarized than when he first took office. His journey, from the boroughs of New York to the penthouses of Manhattan, from the boardroom of reality television to the Oval Office, and back again, is a saga of ambition, branding, controversy, and power. Whether seen as a savior or a demagogue, a brilliant marketer or a threat to democratic norms, one thing is certain: Donald Trump has carved an indelible and revolutionary chapter in the American story. His legacy, still being written, will be debated for generations to come, forever changing the face of the presidency and the nation he leads.